Hey guys, Jay Siemens here. Welcome to my new series, The Complete Guide to Ice Fishing. It has been a banner year for fishing license sales, and I know a lot of people are going to be getting into ice fishing this winter. I got a 10-part series coming your way, brought to you by Travel Manitoba, teaching you everything you need to know to get on the ice. All right guys, we're gonna go through the different options of what you could use to make a hole in the ice. But just so you know, I did a video last year, minimalist ice fishing. You can use an axe, you can use a spool line, and you can still make it work. But that being said, we're gonna start at the bottom of the price bracket. Here you have your classic axe. Most people have an axe in their shed, in their garage, and right there, that's on the pro side of it. You have one already. If you do have to buy one, you can probably get one for 20 to 40 bucks, weighs about 5 pounds, okay? Here's the cons of an axe. It's a lot of physical labor. So if you're looking for a workout, this is probably good. For early ice, this is great. For chopping a couple holes, no problem. As soon as you get later in the season, you wanna move around, make more holes in the ice, an axe is gonna be pretty difficult. All right guys, option number 2, and this is kind of the evolution of the axe. This is an ice saw, and this is a little more specialized. People use this if they're doing spear fishing. For sight fishing, you've probably seen us drill some holes in the ice. Before we get any further into this, if you are going to be doing any sight fishing, you need to read up on your local regulations. I know there's special regulations in provincial parks as far as signage and the size of the hole. Please be careful. If you're gonna make a sight fishing hole, make sure to mark it out. I know in some places it's not legal, but this is the ice saw. This thing is big, kind of scary, kind of dangerous, but if you wanna cut a big hole, put your shack over top to sight fish, actually see the fish, it's pretty neat. This saw makes it a lot easier. Another option you can do is you can use your gas auger, your electric auger, and you can drill holes in sequence, but often that's a little bit harder on the blades. So this one's gonna retail you about $140, and it's kind of more of a supplement. You still would want something else to start the holes with. You probably want an auger, or you could use an axe. Once you have it started, what you do is you saw all the way around, and then you get that giant block of ice, and usually the easiest way is to push it underneath. And then you've got a big hole for sight fishing or spearing or whatever you might be doing. All right, option number 3, and I actually don't have one of these here. This is a hand crank auger. This is what I started out with. You can find them used for probably $50, $60. New, they're about $100. And a hand crank is great. The pros of it, it's lightweight. You're looking at kind of 6 to 10 pounds. You can get them in various flights, 6 inches up to 10 inches. The cons, it's a lot of work. You're hand cranking, it's good in thin ice. As soon as it gets thick, it's difficult. But once again, if you're willing to put in the work, a hand crank can definitely get the job done. All right, now we're headed into the motorized part of drills, and obviously there's a lot of opinions here. I'm just gonna kind of lay down some facts, and you can make a decision for yourself. We're on to, I guess you could call this the cordless drill option. This right here is something that's just kind of hit the market in the last couple years, and essentially it's got a drill bit on the tip of it. So this flighting weighs under 4 pounds. I think it's like 3.9 pounds. You can attach a cordless drill to the top. If you already own a drill and a bunch of batteries, I think this is a great option for you. I think that's on the pro column. I mean, if you're a contractor, you have a bunch of these big batteries, you can then make it happen. If you need to go out and buy a drill and a bunch of big batteries, it might not be, it might not make as much sense for you. But you're dealing with an under 4 pound flight, 2.5 pound drill, and something to keep in mind with your drill is it needs to be 500 pounds of torque or more. I was talking to the guys and they said, yeah, if you have a cheaper drill, you're probably gonna burn out the drill. And you also wanna have it at the slowest setting. You want it to have it on the drill setting, not the hammer setting. You wanna have it at 1, nice and slow. You're just gonna burn it out even faster if you crank it high. Super lightweight, great for run and gun. I think later in the season, if you're dealing with a lot of ice and a 10-inch flight, this might not be the right choice for you, but I think early ice and for somewhere that maybe doesn't get ice as thick, I think this is a pretty sweet option for 200 bucks. All right, next option, and this is the old faithful. This is your standard gas auger. You're looking at $350 to $450, and these are heavy. This is the heaviest type of auger, essentially. You're looking at like 25 to upwards of 40 pounds. Most of these weights I'm giving you are based off of 8-inch flights. You'd be looking at a big, bulky 10-inch, metal flight and everything. That's where you'd be getting closer to 40 pounds. But that's one of the cons of gas augers. They are heavy. Drilling inside of a shack, you're dealing with fumes, you're dealing with mixing gas that you might get on your hands. But there's a lot of pros to gas augers as well. If you're drilling through tons of ice, it's easy. You don't need to own a bunch of batteries, you just need to bring along more gas. They're easy to get fixed. Most small engine repairs can fix these augers. While I don't run a gas auger myself, it is still a fantastic option. Next one, kind of on the same theme, is propane augers. This is one I have not had a chance to try myself. A lot of the specs are the same as your gas. You're looking at 25 to 35 pounds-ish on average, around $400. The biggest difference between propane and gas is drilling inside, it's a little bit cleaner. 1 pound propane tanks is what they run off of. They're readily available. The cons of that is propane will freeze when it is very cold, so that's something to keep in mind. All right, the final option is the electric auger. This thing is 17 pounds. It is so light, it's incredible. This is the most expensive one in our bracket. You're looking at $450 up to $700. Once again, I'm gonna go over some of the pros and cons of this baby. If you wanna see a full review on this specific auger, I'll link it below. But electric augers have kind of taken the industry by storm for many reasons. You don't have to deal with winterizing. There's no mechanical part of it, which is amazing because when I drop this battery in, I can just start drilling. As long as it's charged, it could have sat in my garage all winter and it's good to go. If you do have an issue, this is on the con side, it'll be a little tougher to fix. You're probably gonna have to send it away. It's probably something, to do with some wiring on the inside. Knock on wood, I haven't had any issues yet, but that could be a con. Another pro to this thing is drilling holes inside. In a shack, you don't have to worry about fumes, and it's quiet. You can talk to people while you're drilling a hole. I can keep this running and you can still hear what I say. You can't do that with a gas auger. Something else you have to worry about, and this is on the con side, is keeping the batteries warm. If you let these batteries freeze, they're probably not gonna work for you. I have done some tests with getting batteries cold and I didn't have issues, but I know if it gets wicked cold, you need to make sure to keep one of these batteries warm inside. If you do a lot of fishing with a ton of ice and a 10-inch flight, let's say on Lake Winnipeg, for example, and you're dealing with 4 feet of ice and you're drilling lots of holes and you're a guide, you're gonna need a lot of batteries and that could get expensive. That's where gas may shine in a situation like that. All right, we've talked about all the options, but the last topic to discuss is flight size. This is the flight and they are sold in different diameter sizes. So this is an 8-inch diameter. Most of those weights I listed off were based off an 8-inch. So we'll start with the 6-inch flight. Obviously you're gonna save some money with a smaller flight, but that's basically if you're doing panfish, bluegills, crappies, a 6-inch flight will be perfect. You don't need a bigger hole than that. 8-inch flight, probably the most standard. You can get a lot of fish through an 8-inch flight. There's some more pros to it. Tip-ups are often made to cover up an 8-inch hole nicely. You can't drop a flasher down it. It's really good for, good sized walleye, stock trout, bass. You could get most things through it, but if you were targeting the biggest of the big fish, you're gonna want a 10-inch flight. All right, and lastly, there's a 10-inch hole. This is for big lake trout, big pike, huge walleye. There's nothing worse than looking at the bottom of your hole when you're fishing with an 8-inch hole and seeing a big pike and trying to get its head up. A 10-inch gives you so much reassurance that you're gonna be able to get that big fish up, but it comes with some cons as well. First off, it's a lot easier to step in a hole like that.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh! Secondly, there's a lot more room to drop stuff down. Some flashers will fit down a 10-inch hole. And lastly, some tip-ups aren't made for a 10-inch hole, so sometimes they'll actually float on the inside. They're actually made for like an 8 or a 9. Another option if you don't have access to a 10-inch flight is drilling a triangle with 3 holes, connecting the 3, and right there you're making a hole that's way bigger than a 10-inch. I know if some people are targeting absolutely massive lake trout, that's what they'll do. That is it for our talks on the different options on how to drill a hole. Next up, we're gonna be going over the different shack options on the ice.